What's going on, Fulci fans? It's time to discuss my top 10 favorite Lucio Fulci movies. And if you haven't heard of Fulci and you're watching this and you haven't seen any of his movies, this will hopefully interest you into checking out his movies, and this will help you determine which ones are worth checking out. Because to me, in my opinion, these 10 movies are some of his best and the ones that you should check out if you haven't seen them already. So, uh, top 10, I'm going to do this differently. I'm not going to talk much about each movie because I didn't rewatch them for this, honestly. I got all kinds of other things I need to be watching. So I did watch a couple of ones for the first time to see if they would make this list. But the ones that were already on my list, I didn't rewatch them because I was certain that they were going to make the list. And so I'm just going to, list each movie and tell you what they're about so that you know whether or not you want to check it out if it sounds like something that would interest you in case you haven't seen it. Now, before we jump into this list, I do want to give one quick shout out that got knocked out of my list at the last second because I watched something from Fulci for the first time and I was like, no, that's going to be my number 10. So what was going to be my number 10 was The Psychic, a movie that's pretty highly rated on Letterboxd, and it is about a woman with psychic powers who has a vision of a murder that took place in a house owned by her husband. So that's really all the plot says here, so it's not very detailed, but gives you a good enough idea of what the movie's about. Number 10 will go to Demonia. Just watched it for the first time. It knocked The Psychic out of my list at the last second. And why I put it on the list is because of its atmosphere and a couple of really shocking and kind of funny gory kills. It's got that Fulci gore, some good atmosphere, and it's got devil worshipping nuns that get crucified. And what the story is about, I'll try to shorten this fucking mile long synopsis here on Letterboxd. They have like every detail listed. I don't think it needs to be this long. So I'm going to shorten it. So basically, what this movie is about is we got a couple of Canadian archaeologists. I can't speak fast. And archaeologists go to Italy and they stumble upon the location where these devil worshipping nuns were killed, and then the ghost of one starts to possess one of them, and the locals are getting picked off one by one in grisly ways. A woman getting her eyes ripped out of her skull by her own cats, and a guy getting torn in half. Like, it gets pretty brutal. Number 9 is The House by the Cemetery, and I got a review for this movie on my channel, so if you want to hear all my thoughts on it, go check that out. What this movie is about is, after a doctor kills his mistress and himself while researching the mysterious previous owner of his Boston home, his colleague, Dr. Norman Boyle, takes over his research and moves his family from New York City to the Boston mansion. Soon after, Boyle's young son Bob, who's the most annoying fucking kid in any horror movie ever, you just want to punch him in his face, Bob becomes plagued by visions of a young girl who warns him of the danger within the house. Number 8 will be 1988's horror comedy, very much a comedy, that is Touch of Death. This is a very over-the-top, ridiculous movie that just had me laughing a bunch at how absurd it is. And it's about Lester Parson bets on horse races obsessively, and he is a true Bluebeard who enjoys seducing rich widows to finance his passion, killing them when they are no longer able to pay. So, yeah, it's very over the top. So, if you like silly and ultra gory shit, check it out. Number 7 will go to A Cat in the Brain. Came out in 1990, and within this movie is actually a lot of his other movies, like Touch of Death. And he's like shooting Touch of Death within this movie. And what it's about is Lucio Fulci, playing himself, is starting to be haunted by his own movies. He's very disturbed by his work, and he's haunted by the grotesque set pieces his mind has conjured up during his career. And meanwhile, there's a hypnotist that's fucking with his mind also and going on a killing spree, trying to blame it on Lucio Fulci, yada yada yada, and there's just lots and lots of gore. This movie takes the title of the movie quite literally. It starts with a cat in a brain chewing and eating a brain. That's how it opens up. Very interesting. Number 6 will go to the first Fulci movie I ever watched, and that's Zombie Flesh Eaters, aka Zombie 2, or just Zombie. And I got a review for this, I believe, or I talked about it on my 1979 top 10 ranking, so you can hear all my thoughts there. But what this movie is about is on the Caribbean island of Matul, Dr. David Menard is trying to stem the tide of cannibal zombies that are returning from the dead. Arriving on the island are Anne and reporter Peter West, who are looking for Anne's missing father. The pair soon find themselves under attack from the zombies. Number 5 will be the sequel to Zombie 2, and that's Zombie 3, which was, I guess, like half directed by Lucio Fulci and half directed by Bruno Mattei, because Lucio Fulci, I think, like had a stroke or something, so he had to step down and let someone else finish the movie, but I think he was like more than halfway through it, I believe. I didn't do all my research. I'm just going off of memory of what I read once upon a time, but he still has credit as director, so it counts. It makes the list. So yeah, this is the sequel to Zombie 2, and it's a much more action-packed, faster-paced sequel, and that's why I put it right above Zombie 2. Now, the plot says when a terrorist's body infected with a stolen chemical is recovered by the U.S. military, the corpse is cremated, unintentionally releasing the virus/bacteria into the atmosphere over a small island. Soon, the infected populace mutates into flesh-hungry zombies. Number 4 will go to The New York Ripper, the movie where a guy fingers a woman with his toe, and the movie with a quacking duck killer. If you want to hear my thoughts on this movie, you can check out my top 10 of 1982 ranking. So, a burned out New York police detective teams up with a college psychoanalyst to track down a vicious serial killer randomly stalking and killing various young women around the city, quacking like a duck as he does it. Number 3 goes to most people's favorite Fulci film, and that is The Beyond. Again, you can hear some of my thoughts on this movie on my top 10 of 1981. So, this movie is about a young woman inherits an old hotel in Louisiana where, following a series of supernatural quote-unquote accidents, she learns that the building was built over one of the entrances to hell. Another Fulci movie with lots of great gore. The dog sequence, that's awesome. It's like Suspiria dialed to 11. The violence in this movie is incredible. The spider sequence, amazing. Number 2 will go to City of the Living Dead. Again, you can hear my thoughts on this movie in my top 10 of 1980 ranking. So yeah, I got the shirt on for this movie, and the plot says a psychic participates in a seance where she sees a vision of a Dunwich priest hanging himself in a church cemetery, causing her to die of fright. New York City reporter Peter Bell investigates the seance and learns that the priest's suicide has somehow opened a portal to hell and must be sealed by All Saints' Day, or else the dead will overtake humanity. This is a great movie to check out if you like seeing people puke out their guts and a bunch of people getting their brains ripped out of their skull. And if you're a big fan of Christopher George, you'll definitely like this, because this is probably my favorite Christopher George movie. Number 1, though, goes to a movie that I've already reviewed, and I will be talking about it shortly here soon in my top 10 of 1972 ranking. And that is Don't Torture a Duckling, Lucio Fulci's giallo masterpiece. And so what this movie is about is a reporter and a promiscuous young woman try to solve a series of child killings in a remote southern Italian town, rife with superstition and a distrust of outsiders. This is a movie that I've seen the most from Fulci. I've seen it 3 times, and my opinion has kind of gone back and forth, where like I liked it the first time, and then the second time I thought it was kind of boring, didn't like it as much, and then the third time I loved it, and that's why it's my number 1. It's my highest rated Fulci film, and I almost never want to watch it again just so I can remember that great experience last time where I loved it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to go back and be like, oh man, that didn't hold up as well. Like, I almost don't want to watch it ever again. But my last experience was terrific. I love it. I think it's his best made and written movie. It makes sense. It's not very confusing like some of his other movies. I mean, the ending of City of the Living Dead makes no fucking sense. And The Beyond, to be honest. I don't understand the ending of that movie either, but his movies are all about the gore and the visuals, the atmosphere, just, he's got a style, and you're either into it or you're not. So that is my top 10 favorite Fulci films, and I'll just quickly let you know the other movies that I've seen that I don't recommend. So dishonorable mentions, I guess. Manhattan Baby, Enigma, and The Sweet House of Horrors. And I have a review for Murder Rock. Not a fan of it. And The Black Cat from 81. Wasn't a fan of it. Thought it was really boring. And The House of Clocks. It was fine. It's very short and not a lot happens in it. But it was all right. It's got a somewhat interesting concept. And then there was The Lizard in a Woman's Skin that I thought was just kind of fine, nothing memorable. So yeah, those are the other movies from Fulci that I've seen, horror related. So if there's anything I missed that should have been on this list, let me know in the comments below. And so what is your top 10 favorite Fulci films? Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.